If you're a landlord or a tenant, this, my friends, is probably one of the most important videos you gotta watch in 2020 because we're about to dial in exactly what's going on with the eviction process here in Los Angeles, California, as well as the new tenant protection legislation that was passed in August of 2020 and is now in full effect in September 2020. So if you're not fully aware of what's going on, stay dialed in. You're about to find it all out. What's going on, guys? It's Eric Haas with eXp Realty in Los Angeles, California on the west side. Hope you guys are doing great. Welcome back to the channel. It's Friday. We're about to head out to the weekend, have a little free time, a little fun time. But before you do that, check out this video because it's all about keeping you dialed in on how this pandemic is not only impacting our local lives, but our real estate markets here on the west side, especially Mar Vista, Venice, Santa Monica, and Brentwood, as well as me keeping you dialed in with tips, tricks, and strategies so you can stay successful in this market or any market for that matter. And if you're new to my channel, my friends, give me a thumbs up, comment below with any questions, thoughts, or concerns. I'm happy to address them all. Even a topic I'm happy to cover as well, so feel free to drop it below. And the last thing I gotta ask from you is subscribe, please. That lets everyone know at YouTube that you're feeling me, this effort that I'm putting into that makes me feel completely awkward every single week, that I do twice a week, is all about you delivering the utmost value. So please give me a subscribe. I greatly appreciate. Plus, it gets it out to so many more people that are looking for this type of information that I can deliver value to. So greatly appreciate the support. Without further ado, let's get into the video. At the beginning of the pandemic, I actually dropped a video on this very topic, and it was at the beginning of my YouTube adventure too, when I finally decided to get off my butt and finally start doing some videos. Well, I'm sure that video was awkward as hell, and I'm sure it still is awkward, but I know it did paint a very clear picture of what was going on back in April when this pandemic was first breaking loose, describing exactly what the eviction process was going to look like for tenants, how they're going to pay rent, as well as what landlords would be expecting as well with respects to their mortgages and actually maintaining their building. So dial in that video because you're going to see from April to now that there really hasn't been any positive solutions and more or less just band-aids with every few months that have passed. And that happened in June. That's happened again in the end of August and has rolled into September. Now, tenants still have their protective provisions in place against being evicted as long as they can make sure that they can provide proof that they are enduring an economic hardship because of the pandemic. Tenants are also made aware of the fact that if they are waiving their rent per month or only paying 25% of it, they are due the excess amount that they haven't been paying at a later point in time. They are not off the hook for this. This is something that is due back to the landlord per these protective provisions set by the governor and the legislation. Now, at the end of August, again, as I mentioned, to avert the housing crisis and, again, put a Band-Aid on this struggle that we're having with no solution, the California legislature and governor decided, hey, you know what? We're just going to increase this for another 5 months and let it extend to January 31st, 2021. By then, hopefully, we'll come up with a solution. So obviously, that gives another 5 months extension on protecting tenants against not only eviction, but also only having to pay 25% of their rent. Now, I get it, with income and unemployment not returning fast enough, especially with Los Angeles kind of closed up compared to other states like Colorado or Texas, people are still struggling to make their monthly payments. So I completely understand, but at the same time, we got to facilitate a solution that also works for landlords because it's a work both ways, give and take balance that you got to be able to find. And we're going to get into that shortly. The bill that we're talking about right now that put this protective measure in place yet again for the third time for protecting tenants against eviction went into effect September 1st, 2020. This bill actually is not only for tenants and landlords alone, it also helps homeowners out of the foreclosure process as a result of the economic hardship. Now back to our tenants, again, as I mentioned, they will not be evicted until January 31st. Now this is as long as the tenants are paying the minimum 25% of the rent per month. Renters, on top of getting this relief with their rent, must file a declaration with the landlord discussing their financial suffering that they are experiencing as a result of the pandemic and the business shutdowns. Now, interesting enough though, many tenant advocates are very disappointed with the response, as they fear renters will not be in a state to even start paying their rent come February 1st, when the eviction process can then yet begin again. Now, this is a major concern, my friends, because tenants are still on the hook for paying the back end of what they owe to landlords, which includes the waived rents that they experience from April to June, and then the 25% of the rent that they were able to pay, if they were able to pay it. That's quite a bit to then go back to paying the normal rent come February 1st and then face the potential of being evicted come the end of February. So those tenants that can't pay or don't pay face now the opportunity for landlords to take them to small court and get what they're due. Now, this bill, again, is not being seen as a solution, but again, as I mentioned, another temporary Band-Aid. Now, interesting enough, the executive vice president of the California Apartment Association, Deborah Carlton, believes the solution is actually the federal government getting involved and providing tenants with the financial means necessary to pay their monthly rents. With the housing crisis not getting any better, Deborah fears also that with rents going unpaid, landlords might eventually just sell or convert their properties, finding tenants losing their homes either way. California governor is actually requesting more money from Washington as he directs Angelenos to stay at home and especially stop congregating in public places. Now, after January 31st, 2021 goes into effect, tenants cannot be evicted for the previous amounts of monies that they're due to their landlords. And again, my friends, that refers to when the rents were waived from that April-June period, as well as that period where only 25% of the rent was paid. The additional amounts that weren't paid still need to be paid back, but those are not going to be reasons for any type of eviction of tenants after the January 31st, 2021 call-off date. The only way in which you have the ability to evict now landlords is if your tenant is unable to pay the February month and afterward months going forward, in addition to what they owe you as well that they're on the hook for still. Now, a lot of that unpaid rent is simply going to go unpaid and seen as consumer debt. However, landlords do have the ability to recover it through small claims court, which some very may well do. Now, again, many feel that this is a horrible solution to an unprecedented crisis. Many landlords and apartment associations also feel that paying just 25% of the monthly rent is simply not enough to allow for landlords to actually pay the mortgage as well as maintain and make sure that repairs are taking place as needed at their buildings. Which also, at the end of the day, if these things can't be afforded, well, then these properties are just going to go to foreclosure. So my friends, I hope you found tremendous value in the content that I shared with you today. I know things are changing up a bit, but it doesn't look like there's any changes in sight for a permanent solution with respects to the tenant and landlord relationship. But if you're experiencing something similar, or you're a tenant or a landlord and you want to express your feelings and let me know what your thoughts are, please don't hesitate to drop the comments below, because I'm happy to address all comments and concerns, because I like to see what other ideas out there people propose, because obviously right now in Los Angeles, California, our governor doesn't have a clue what's going on, unfortunately. But hopefully within these next 5 months we'll have a good solution and we can come out of this in a better position in place. So keep it dialed in here for the future, my friends, because as you know, I'm dropping 2 videos a week, and they're only going to keep coming with great content. We got some great market updates coming with new construction updates in particular, because those are niche markets in themselves. So please keep it dialed in here. And again, make sure you give me a thumbs up, little comment below, and a subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Have a great one and be safe this weekend.